All right, and then one more news item that came out. Obviously, if you're watching or if you've watched our show already, it came out. Stephon Diggs, he obviously was confirmed torn ACL. So we talked about pickups there. Go check that episode out. But another move that we kind of hinted at, but hadn't happened yet, and it finally did happen. Joe Flacco is now the starting quarterback. I don't know if it's this week, moving forward, at least for this week, week 9. He is now the starting quarterback. Anthony Richardson was benching. Kind of a seismic move. We saw Anthony Richardson take himself out the game and say he was tired afterward, which isn't what you want to hear from quarterbacks. But I never really thought that he was going to get benched, to be honest.
One question. How do you feel about that? Because I've seen a lot of different personalities on different sides of it.
I hear that he's the quarterback, and I understand, like, you don't say that as the quarterback. Maybe he should have lied, but I think that's just a young quarterback that is a dual threat quarterback that he runs a lot, gets hit a lot, and was asked to do a lot in the offense. And I think there's been too big a microscope on him, like as far as the completion percentage. He's had a lot of balls that have hit receivers' hands and just been dropped too. So I think the microscope is just so heavy, and the fan base probably wants to see a change. I think that's why we're seeing a change here, more so than him tapping.
But do you think he should have tapped his helmet?
I'm not really mad at him for that.
I don't like it personally. I just don't like it because I don't think you see you don't see Jalen Hurts do it. You don't see Lamar do it. And maybe he could have been a little bit banged up.
He need to eat better though. He need to take care of his body better.
Yeah. Or like you said, just lie and say, I was kind of like my knee hurt a little bit. I wasn't quite sure. And then I was able to kind of walk it off and I felt good. Like something like that. Don't say I was tired. Like, bro, a quarterback's the one spot you can't get tired. You're the guy. You're the guy. You're the leader. You can't get tired and tap yourself out.
I understand though. Like I understand because they ask him to do a lot, but you just can't say. You can't flat out say that shit. Like,
reasonable world, it makes sense, but like in the NFL, it's just you can't as the quarterback.
Yeah,
you can't do that. Like you just can't. So, but yeah,
crazy. I mean, he's the most athletic quarterback too, and I'm like, all this stuff you combine metrics are all there for you, but
I'm surprised that they're doing it.
It was just surprising to see him actually get demoted this week.
I agree. I think it's surprising because it's kind of like the Bryce Young situation where it's just like, are you throwing the towel in now? Like already on him? And the problem is that like at least Bryce got a full season. We got to see Bryce for a full season and he wasn't good. And then you thought year 2 will take a step forward. That hasn't. A-Rich only played what, truly 2 games last year. I think it was 4 in total, but left those 2. So and now he's had the opportunity, and yes, he's had some of these throws where it's hit the wire. It has not been good, but the only way for him to truly get better is just repetition. Like he needs more reps. I think he was only 1 year of college that he was the quarterback for the full starting year, and it wasn't great. So it's kind of like, I don't know. Like, are you throwing the towel as an organization on this pick now? Because
if you go to the draft and you draft a developmental quarterback, why don't you give him the full 3 to 4 years to develop into who he's supposed to be? I don't understand it.
But this is what teams do. Like if everybody knew he was a developmental prospect, just let him sit for a little bit. Like, why do these guys got to play right off the rip? Just give them some. I mean, look at Drake May. Now, obviously, Drake May is different, but at least he got to sit for half the season somewhat, and then you put him in. Like, give these guys a little bit of time. It doesn't
make sense. It doesn't make sense if you're going to draft a player and you know that he hasn't played in college. The same thing happened with Trey Lance, and he gets hurt, and the fan base is upset. And it's like, yeah, you may have somebody who's played well in the back end, but you have to give the guy a chance to develop. Otherwise, you're telling your fan base, we don't believe in you. He's done now.
Yeah. Well, especially right now. I don't think that you can go you could go back, but this is such a hit to his confidence, in my opinion. Now, quarterbacks, I think that confidence plays a massive role in all sports because once you lose a little bit of confidence and you start to second guess this, it just ruins everything. It ruins everything. Yeah, it ruins everything for you. So I think from a football perspective, do I think that Joe Flacco might give you a better chance to win right now? But where are you going as a team You're gonna make the playoffs? Are
They're
you?
not
Like
going to
even if
Super Bowl. They're not making a deep playoff
like
run. It does
yeah,
not make sense to me, like why you
yeah.
would do this. But I
I
think fantasy wise, though, I
yeah.
think fantasy
It
wise for these
it's
receivers,
good.
it helps out.
It's good for fantasy.
It's really
Absolutely. If
good.
for fantasy football, I mean, this is a big move. Obviously, we all thought I'm going to say we all. I literally think that 90% of fantasy experts thought that Anthony Richardson possessed quarterback one overall potential.
Yep,
And
I
if you
did.
say you didn't, like you're fooling yourself. You definitely did. Obviously, there were some questions about the accuracy, but the rushing upside. So this is a massive fail for fantasy. And if you took him in the 5th round, but for fantasy football going forward, Michael Pittman, and we talked about this earlier. Like I thought Michael Pittman, this was the kind of, if you were a team that was down bad, this was an opportunity to swing for the fences. Now, happened so fast. I'm surprised it already happened. I thought maybe like a week or two.
Another week or two, yeah.
Yeah, that you would have the opportunity, but now it's kind of, it's done. Maybe you can still get him. I don't know, but probably not. So Michael Pittman, Josh Downs. I think that a guy that's really interesting too is Adonai Mitchell. We know he's a rookie wide receiver. We see it all the time. These guys may struggle a little bit early. As season progresses, they get a little bit better and better and better. So if he is the guy that some people think he could be, like a lot of people liked him coming out of the draft, I think there's potential there. So he's a guy that I would kind of stash and kind of see. But yeah, this is big, big, big for Josh Downs and Pittman, because I think in real life football, these guys are very, very good real life wide receivers that give Joe Flacco, who has looked pretty good, good targets.
Yeah, and I think Michael Pittman, if you had him as like a wide receiver 3 or 4, and obviously the injury that came up a couple weeks ago might have got some teams off of him really quickly. This is a player you could trust as a high-end wide receiver 3, back-end wide receiver 2 now. Josh Downs is in the wide receiver 3 flex tier, and then you said AD Mitchell. He obviously has immense upside as well, but Flacco himself is a QB2. I don't think, obviously, he's nowhere near the potential of an Anthony Richardson, but he provides such a better floor. The thing is with this team, right? They have 5 games until their bye. Their bye is in week 14. You got Minnesota, Buffalo, the Jets, Detroit, and New England. So they're a 4-4 team right now. They're trying to win. I think the goal of this thing for them is like, can we get to the playoffs? And I think once we in the playoff picture, maybe we see Anthony Richardson return after a couple of weeks. So that's kind of the thought process, I think, on this one.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen here. Well, I would kind of say the opposite. Like if they're not in the playoffs, I feel like they would then go back to A-Rich.
Yeah, that's why there's no way they don't go back to him. Yeah, once they're
Oh, I think if they're winning,
it's an A-Rich thing.
I think that if they're winning, why do you go back?
What do you mean, ever?
This team is making a very This is, I don't know. This is I don't know. This is a big decision.
I don't understand it, to be like, it just doesn't, it honestly doesn't make sense.
They want to make the playoffs. That's
unless
the thing.
They lost the locker room. Like that's the only thing.
That could be too.
Locker room, maybe
that could be too. Well, it could be too, because I mean, I know people are making a big deal, but maybe tapped out and the guys are like, seriously, you're coming out of the game like you're our guy, and maybe it kind of threw off the. But I just think, like, looking at it, in my opinion, this team I think Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco gives them a better chance to make the playoffs right now. I think that's how they're looking at it. And if Joe Flacco wins, because they do have a really tough stretch of games coming up here, where if they're in a position where they're winning football games, I don't see why they would go back to Anthony Richardson right now. Like they're making the decision. All right, Joe, you give us the best position, or you give us the best chance to win. And if we're winning games, I don't see why they go back. I think if they lose, then they go back. Yeah.
The last thing I'll say is that is a tough stretch of games. And when you have a quarterback that's lacking confidence or maybe lacking even stamina to get through games, you're talking about Minnesota, a blitzing defense, a tough Buffalo defense, a Jets defense, a Detroit defense, a New England defense, all those defenses before the bye. Maybe you're saying to yourself too, like, if we lose this kid, we lose his confidence and the whole world is against him, and we go on Sunday Night Football, the whole world's watching, we might lose Anthony Richardson forever. So maybe this is a good reset point here too, like to get his confidence back, because everybody's coming for him after coming back, after tapping himself out. So it could
that was
be
a big talking point too. Yeah.
All right, y'all. But listen, as news breaks, me and Tyler got you here. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.